Production planning and control essentially has two important functions, namely production planning and production control. They facilitate an effective production function. These two functions are running parallel to each other, but they have very different scope and nature. Let's know the differences between them by discussing in details. Production planning. Production planning is one part of production planning and control, dealing with basic concepts of what to produce, when to produce, how much to produce, etc. It involves taking a long-term view at overall production planning. This can be done only after assessing the customer demand for the product. Production planning focuses on the principle of meeting the targeted customer demand rate in the most efficient way possible while keeping open the capability to respond to variations in demand. This assesses the requirement of different materials to fulfill your production target and their availability. Inefficient production planning keeps the minimum materials as standard inventory. Planners must evaluate how much material the company needs, the lead times for orders, the delivery times for suppliers, and the reliability of the suppliers or vendors. Production planners take into account the capabilities of the machines or equipments used to produce the output. Basic stability of an equipment is ascertained on the basis of three parameters, namely, its availability, its performance, and its quality. This is done by overall equipment effectiveness. Manpower planning needs accurately estimating the number of employees required to do the work. The capacity of the workforce must match the capabilities of the equipment to plan for the highest efficiency. Planning for the processes is done keeping in view that the processes continue to operate efficiently and safely during the entire production time. Often the normal operations of a process require occasional testing and adjustments. A final production planning puts in place controls that detect problems as soon as they occur. When controls are in place, it enables to take possible corrective actions to minimize the effects and return production to the required levels. Hence, the main objectives of production planning are to ensure right quantity and quality of raw material, equipment, etc. are available during times of production, to ensure capacity utilization is in tune with forecast demand at all the time, to streamline the overall production process, to ensure the timely and regular delivery of the product, to provide advance information to vendors or suppliers about the requirement of different types of raw materials and components, to reduce investments in inventory, and to reduce overall production cost by driving inefficiency. This is important to notice that the production planning is concerned with two basic strategies, which are product planning and process planning. Production planning is done at three different time-dependent levels, that is, long-range planning dealing with facility planning, capital investment, location planning, etc. Medium-range planning deals with demand forecast and capacity planning, and lastly short-term planning dealing with day-to-day operations, often termed as shop floor planning. We have already discussed shop floor planning in the previous lecture. Now, let's learn about production control. In literal sense, control means action to check or regulate. According to Mary Gushing-Niles, control is maintaining a balance in activities towards a goal or set of goals evolved during production planning. Planning only outlines some course of action, whereas control is an execution process involving standardization, evaluation, and corrective functions. As per Fayol, control consists in verifying whether everything occurs in conformity with the adopted plan and established principles. The objective of control is to point out weaknesses and shortcomings, if any, in order to rectify them and prevent recurrence. It operates on everything, including material, equipment, men, operations, etc. For control to be effective, it must be applied within reasonable time and be followed up sanctions. Therefore, production control may be understood as a scientific procedure that regulates an orderly flow of material and coordinate various production operations to achieve the objective of producing desired item in right quantity of desired quality at the required time by the best and the cheapest method, that is, to attain highest efficiency in production. Alternately, production control is the function of management which plans, directs and controls the material supply and processing activities of an enterprise, so that specified products are produced by specified methods to meet an approved sales program. It ensures that the activities are carried in such a way that the available labor and capital are used in the best possible way. So, what is the need of production control in manufacturing organizations? Production system of a manufacturing unit comprises of man, machine, equipments, labor etc., which are put together at a given time. Their arrangement is mainly governed by conditions imposed by the required operations. One must remember that it is not possible for a production planner to control the inputs. In fact, planner makes an attempt to control the output so that it is in conformity with the target set by the marketing department. Briefly, we can say that production control attempts to streamline the complete process so that goods and services are produced as per the requirements of the customers, that is, of right quality, quantity at the desired time. In the present severe competition, it goes without saying that production control has become the hallmark of production efficiency. It is a necessity and not a luxury but a profitable investment. This is a boon for a firm that attempts to take corrective measures whenever there is some deviation from the planned strategy. The success of an enterprise greatly depends on the performance of its production control department. Production control looks to utilize different type of control techniques to achieve optimum performance out of the production system as to achieve overall production planning targets. The main functions of production control are to make provisions for raw material, equipment, machines and labor, to organize production schedule in conformity with the demand forecast, to utilize resources in the best possible manner so that the cost of production is minimized and delivery date is maintained, to determine economic production runs with a view to reduce set-up costs, to ensure proper coordination of the operations of various sections or departments responsible for production, to ensure regular and timely supply of raw material at the desired place and of prescribed quality and quantity to avoid delays in production, to perform inspection of semi-finished and finished goods and use quality control techniques to ascertain that the produced items are of required specifications, and to decide the product design and development. Now let's look into the factors determining production control operations. It is necessary to understand that production control cannot be same across all the organization. This varies from organization to organization. Production control mainly depends upon different factors including Number 1. Nature of production. In case of continuous production, production control becomes very easy due to fixed process. But for the job type production, where process changes on the basis of every order, control becomes very complicated. Number 2. Nature of operations. In different manufacturing firms, the operations are reasonably varied in terms of nature, sequence and duration. Hence the control procedure also needs lot of continuous changes accordingly. And, Number 3. Magnitude of operations. The centralized controlling system provides the most effective coordination to the organization, but when the organization starts to increase in terms of size, then there is the requirement of decentralization of the production and the control functions. The degree of decentralization totally depends upon the scope of operations. Hence, we can say that production planning and production control both are essential for customer delight and overall success of an organization.